Researchers track slowly splitting dent in Earth's magnetic field. That's our headline, and today's date is August 21st, 2020. So before we go over this update, and this is something that's been discussed for over 10 years, longer than that in fact, the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field, holes in the Earth's magnetic field. We take a look at the things that are taking place right now. What I would call a synchronization of human and natural disasters, because I sense a link between the two, as above, so below. Record levels of unrest, whatever your belief system happens to be. We are seeing levels of conflict between human beings that have not been seen for some time, as we see a record level of fires in California and also Colorado. Even though it's fire season, it's the summer, we're in an extended drought. Colorado, for example, didn't get its monsoon rains, and so devastating fires in the northern part of the state. And in California, an almost supernatural level of lightning has triggered wildfires, causing many people to flee. We've also seen lightning strike multiple times in the same place, around the place of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. And there is a link between periods in which we see more lightning and a highly energized atmosphere. And that may be caused by these types of leaks or holes in the Earth's magnetic field combined with the effects of the solar minimum. So let's go over this headline from earthsky.org. Earth's magnetic field acts like a protective shield around the planet, repelling and trapping charged particles from the sun. But there is an unusually weak spot in the field, a slowly expanding dent over South America and the Southern Atlantic Ocean, called the SAA, or South Atlantic Anomaly, which allows these particles to dip closer to the surface than normal. The SAA developed as a result in changes to the motion of Earth's core, according to a statement from NASA, August 12, 2020. Although the SAA arises from processes inside Earth, it has effects that reach far beyond Earth's surface. Particle radiation in this region can knock out onboard computers and interfere with the data collection of satellites that pass through it. If a satellite is hit by a high-energy proton, it can short-circuit and cause an event called a SEU, or single event upset. This can cause the satellite's function to glitch temporarily, or can cause permanent damage if a key component is hit. In order to avoid losing instruments or an entire satellite, operators commonly shut down non-essential components as they pass through the SAA. And although the SAA currently creates no visible impacts on daily life on our planet's surface, recent observations show that the region is expanding westward and continuing to weaken in intensity. It's also splitting, say scientists. Research data shows the anomaly's valley, or region of minimum field strength, has split into two lobes, creating additional challenges for satellite missions. Now, as I'm reading this scientific publication, think about things that you see and understand. Think about the unrest taking place as group rises against another group. Group A versus Group B, while Group C watches in horror. As we see periods of relative calm interrupted, right? But by what might be influences in the cosmos, and our own scientific publications may have a few articles about how we're affected by changes in the sun, phases of the moon, eclipses, so on and so forth. The dominant voices, the loudest voices in the room or publications, don't cover that material or those issues. And so for the most part, the population is totally unaware of how these types of leaks, holes, splits in the magnetic field or other things may be affecting us on a very direct, instantaneous way, whether the sun is active or quiet. So the International Space Station, the ISS, which is low in Earth's orbit, also passes through the SAA. It is well protected and astronauts are safe from harm while inside. However, the ISS has other passengers affected by the higher radiation levels. And I'm not going to read every single word from this, but I would say that this major flux of more radiation, less radiation, has a direct influence on our behaviors. And what is negative, what is positive as far as human behavioral response, that is in the eye of the beholder. We're not going to agree on those things. But what we can see is a direct connection. A host of scientists in geophysics, and heliophysics research groups observe and monitor the SAA to predict future changes and help prepare for future challenges to satellites and humans in space. The SAA, the South Atlantic Anomaly, is also of interest to Earth scientists who monitor the changes in the magnetic field strength there, both for how such changes affect Earth's atmosphere and as an indicator of what's happening to Earth's magnetic fields deep inside the globe. Another thing that I'll mention that's in the news is that a meteor recently passed close to the Earth, the closest that they've ever detected a meteor, 1,800 miles above the South Indian Ocean, in fact. Now, this is interesting. So some of these meteors are getting closer and closer and closer, but they say if it was heading on a direct collision course with Earth, that it would have burned up into a fireball. But what does that even mean as far as its effects on Earth? Because although there's a lot of controversy around COVID-19 conspiracies and whatnot, and a lot of them go off into left field, you know what a lot of people have kind of overlooked? There's some over at Coast to Coast AM in the news. And I've seen a lot of scientific publications from space.com, not necessarily fringe publications, but scientific publications. They're wondering if it came from space. And that's something that we may come back to in the future. But we are seeing massive changes in the Earth's magnetic field, and we're also seeing massive changes in human behavior and human psychology. And I believe that there's a connection. I'm Alex Ansary for August 21st, 2020.